Hi, my name is Tony with Advantage Lifts. Today we are going to assemble our ML-2000 multi-lift. We have taken it out of the crate to have all the pieces here set aside. I just kind of want to talk to you about the pieces you'll need. We have 2 tracks. We have our 1 crossbar. A nice thing to have on this installation would be 3 car dollies. You can see I have these setting on a couple car dollies, holds them up, makes it easy for you to roll it around, and you'll see as we do the installation. Then I have my crossbar setting on a dolly as well, and you'll see how that makes it so simple to put together. You also included in this is you get 8 approach ramps to come with this. You get 3 center deckings that we'll show you how that inserts in just a little bit, but it gives you a deck between the 2 tracks. And then of course your single post with the cylinder in it that does all the lifting power. A 110 power unit, all your bolts and nuts. Some things you'll want to have is a hammer drill with a 3/4 inch bit, a shop vac, and your required tools that are listed. And then we will get things rolling here. You got to pick out your spot where you want it and then start the assembly. Okay, we're going to stand up our post. A nice easy way to do that is the help of a material handling lift. I put a board here on the back side of my forks, set the top of the post on there, and then we'll crank it up and walk this genie in as it stands up. Makes it less strain on your back. Okay, now just go ahead and grab it and tilt it on up there. Just like so. Now we've got a spot marked on our floor where we want it to be, so we'll just kind of dance with it. Okay, in position. Okay, now we've got the post stood up where we want it. I've got it square to the spot where I want to put it. First thing we're going to do now is go ahead and anchor this to the concrete, get it to where it is sturdy, and then we can build the lift with this all being anchored to the concrete. So what you'll need is a hammer drill with a 3/4 inch bit to do your drilling, and then you'll need a shop vac, because what you want to do is when you're drilling, you'll want to suck up that, and it's less of a mess if you're sucking that up in the shop vac. And then when you go to put in your red head, you want all that concrete dust out of that hole so that you got a good fit. Okay, now that we've got the hole drilled, our first one, we're going to use a 3/4 inch, it's called a red head. It's an expansion lag. So you're going to take the nut clear to the top here, put it into the hole, and then pound her down into it. Now, one thing I need to mention, to set one of these up in your garage floor, you need to have a 4-inch minimum concrete depth. It needs to be 3,500 pound mix reinforced with either fiber, wire, or rebar. And we'll do the rest. There's 5 holes need to be done, so we'll get to going and getting that, and we'll see you in a minute. Okay, now that we have torqued down our red heads, anchor bolts to 120 pounds, and you've also made it level from side to side so it's plumb. If you need to, sometimes you might have to shim underneath the base plate to get to where you are nice and level on your post. And now at this point, we're ready to go ahead and mount our power unit to the back of the post. All right, so what we're going to do is put the power unit onto the plate on the back. You've got provided 4 bolts. I just put a little cardboard behind it so that it sets them in, so I can just pick this up and stab it right on. Then my trusty assistant will start the nuts. Okay, now that we've got the power unit mounted to the post, we're going to hook up our hydraulic hose. And you're going to take one end and fit to the port down here on the cylinder, and then the other end is going to go to our 90-degree fitting once we take out this valve. So we'll go ahead and start with that. Take the plug out. This is a 90-degree with an O-ring fitting with a jam nut. So we're going to put this in, turn it till you come up to the O-ring, and then you're going to tighten up your, just snug at this point until we get everything hooked up. Okay, now we're going to put in our hydraulic fluid. You want to use a AW32 hydraulic fluid. You're going to fill it up to just to the bottom, to the top of this little rib on the tank. I've got a fancy little pump. You might need a funnel, and then pour it in. Okay, so now that we've got the oil in our power unit, we're ready, we're hooked up. We're going to operate the lift just to raise it up enough to where I've moved my cross arm over here. We're going to raise up the carriage so it makes it easy to bolt this together. And so we'll just make sure our chain is on the pulley, everything is set, and start to raise her up a little bit. And then we're now ready to insert our cross beam here onto the carriage itself. Okay, you'll notice we have a bolt that has a big thick spacer that's got a concave recess in it to fit this ball on our bolt. What that does is allows this to move so that we have some adjustment in our camber when we'll get to it, and I'll show you in a little bit. But you want to put that on to where this will move that direction. Okay, and there's your nut, here's my nut. Before you get ahead of yourself, like I just did, make sure you get your lock cable through the hole here. Now, we also have 3 big Allen bolts that go right inside of here. And what this is going to do, when we need to adjust to make our deck level, and you'll see in a little bit, I can tighten this up and that'll put a pitch on our deck that's coming out. So I'll just set these in for now, and then we'll adjust that in just a little bit. Now, we're ready to insert our ramps and plates. To roll these right up to place. If you need to raise up your unit a little bit, you can do that. Okay, at this point we've rolled up our ramp, and you can see it's got the bevel in here for the tire to set down in forward. So that's the right side, and you have a left side. We've rolled it up here. I've adjusted my cross rail to be right underneath the bolts. At this point, you're just going to put them on here. Both sides make it the same to start with, and then you'll adjust it to whatever you're going to put onto the unit. Then we have a big back plate that goes on, and you'll actually just put them on to the back side, and then you'll want to have all your bolts in place before you and so then you got your long bolt, and you have a flat washer, lock washer, and a nut. Okay, at this point, you just want to snug them up to where it's going to hold it in place, and then we'll adjust it to whatever the vehicle we're going to put on there in a second. We'll do the same thing to the other side.
Through there?
Now we've got our tracks onto the post and they're not tight at this point. We've adjusted this and we're going to set this up to fit our 3-foot deck insert that goes in the middle. This would fit golf carts, 4-wheelers, lawn mowers. So we're going to adjust this to be at 4 foot. So if I was going to put a Harley trike on here, I'd want to adjust these out wider so that the tires fit inside of these troughs. Now to tighten these up, all you're going to do is use a big Allen on one side and then an impact and tighten these up, and it squeezes to the crossbar and makes that to where they're going to be stable. Now to get to the bottom ones, to make it a little easier, I'm just going to raise it up. Outside. Middle. So now once you've got these all tight, it's squeezing down on our 4x4 post, and you can see how easy that is to adjust in or out for the width of the vehicle that you're going to put on here. And so we did it once again at 3 foot, and now you'll see my assistant bring in the decks that make this real nice and handy for whatever you might be working on here. Just like so. What you're going to notice here is the deck levelness. We want to make sure that we're not tilted down when you put something on here. So that's where these 3 bolts are going to come into place. We can tighten those up, and that puts a pitch to where I can bring the end of this track up so that we don't have it sagging down at the backside. And then once we get this set, then we'll tighten up our big 4 bolts to the chassis to make it solid. So that's what we'll do at this point. We've got this set up now, and as it sets right now, we're a 1/2 inch higher on the end than we are on this end. I like to set it on a preset for 1 inch, so that this is 1 inch higher than we have at the posts themselves. So what we'll do is we'll tighten up those 3 Allens, and that's going to put a pitch on this deck, and that'll get us to where we can get to our inch, and then we'll tighten everything up. Now, if you're putting, like I said a minute ago, that Harley trike on here, it's a little heavier, it's 1,500 pounds. You might have to adjust more pitch in there so that you can make your deck level. Okay, now I want to explain to you a little bit about this service hole that's in the column. What you do, that's a service hole to where you can get to the lock mechanism that's on the carriage. So you're going to raise the lift up to the lock is exposed if you needed to oil that, or if you needed to get in there and adjust something, a spring or adjustment on the lock itself, this is the access hole that you would use. Again, my name is Tony. I appreciate you taking the time to watch our instructional video on our multi-lift. If we can help you get one in your garage, give us a call. We've got them in stock. We'll help you out. Thanks for choosing Advantage Lifts.